The following Earth Angel Media presentation is brought to you commercial-free as a gratuity from the sponsor producer named after the show. Please consider their message. Find other high-value shows listed at earthangelproject.com. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Soul Decodes. Join us as we wander off the path to find the ideas that fascinate. We talk about spirituality, the mind, the ego, wellness, and hidden history with tips, travels, and tales. Charms for a better life.
Hi there, everybody. My name is Dr. Jolie Phillips, and you're listening to Soul Decodes. I'm looking at an empty chair today. My beautiful co-hostess had some issues, and I'm going to be making a solo of it today, but it's going to be a great show, no less. But I first want to call out to Sarah. She had a major past 24 hours. She's going to be fine, but she ate at a restaurant yesterday, and the restaurant, whatever she ate, didn't agree with her, and it keeps not agreeing with her, and she's been down and out, really in a bad spot for pretty much almost 24 hours now. So hugs and kisses to my girlfriend and my co-hostess, Sarah. We want you to be better. And you'll hear from her next week. It kind of gives me inspiration. I'm going to be talking with you really the same as we always do. But Sarah's here in spirit. I'm going to be talking off the cuff on just a few things. And it might not be as long as the usual shows, but I think I'm going to try to make it the best I can to give you some value because you're tuning in. And we just love having you listen to us. We wanted to make sure. In fact, about early afternoon, Sarah texted me and she says, I think I'm going to make it. And then about a minute later, she says, I'm not going to make it. I just threw up again. So there's that. I just want to let you know that Sarah, in her heart, she's here. She said, the show must go on. So I said, well, I'm going to go solo then because we do really want to put something out there every week for y'all. And because you are special to us and Sarah sends her love. So there's that. So, as I thought about the situation today, I want to just share with you my day today because I had 8 things on my schedule. When I woke up this morning, there was 8 things, and only one of them happened on schedule. I had a 30-minute Zoom call, and that was the only thing out of 8 things that went on schedule. Everything else either changed or it changed character or it didn't happen at all, got rescheduled. It was absolutely chaos today. That's not to say it's bad because one of the things I wanted to share, and probably this could be a central part of my monologue today, is that sometimes things don't go the way you want them to. And we have to have that conversation. What does that mean? And so we're going to go into that a little bit. But for now, the 2 things that come to my mind would be, number 1 is what does it mean to go solo? Hey, Jim. Jim, you're on the air because I'm recording in the studio and I forgot to mute my phone, but I'm solo, so it doesn't even matter. So I'm just gonna. And here's Jim with the traffic report. So.
Stay away from I-4. The national airplane is clogging up everything. You know, throw it on right there.
So here's my friend Jim. Jim, you're on the air with Soul Decodes. What do you have to say to our people?
Sell, bye.
Well, thanks for not making it a solo show. I appreciate you. I know we're back on the air, Soul Decodes. But that would be a really, maybe I'll keep this thing in here, man. I need to get your permission to do that. But
Yeah, you have permission.
no, that's all right. Hey, thanks for the call, Jim. All right, take care. Bye. Okay, y'all, that was my friend Jim. And now you know what my ringtone sounds like. So anyway, so we're back. Let's get back on topic here. What does it mean to go solo? What does it mean in our lives when our life gets disrupted? Now, clearly, this is minor stuff. You know, your co-host get sick, things don't go as planned. But I think there's a bigger discussion we can have here today, and that's related to things that happen in life, right? We all have these ideas of how we want our life to go. We have these ideas of pretty much what our dreams and goals are. But then over the years, sometimes things change, and sometimes they don't go the way we should. And there's both on the macro and the micro. So on the macro, those are things like, gosh, I really wanted to join the military, but my feet were flat or my eyes were crossed or something. You have these ideas, and there's some things are just out of your control. Other things are in your control. And I think that that's primarily what I wanted to express is, what things are within your control, what things are not in your control. The other thing is sometimes even those things that are not in your control, you can sometimes interpret those as being negative, like, oh my God, the world's working against me or whatever. But at the same time, I can assure you, after my more than 6 decades through this Earth space this time around, I can tell you that when I look back at my life, most of the times when things didn't go my way, there was almost always the best thing that could have happened. So sometimes the things we think are what we want or what we need, and we're so disappointed when things like that don't happen. Almost immediately, if you keep your chin up and you keep your eyes open, almost always you're going to see something coming your way. I'm going to go ahead and just tell you a quick story. And this is again, I'm shooting from the hip, y'all. So when I went to, I'm from the Detroit area. If you've been listening for a while, you probably knew that. But when I was a kid, my family, we did okay. We didn't have too much money, but they did okay. I honestly don't know how my mom and dad made it through, but they did it, 5 kids. And later on, I found out there was a 6th sibling, or a 5th sibling, a 6th kid. But, I was growing up, and I knew just a couple things from when I was really young. Number one was that I was very different than all the other kids, in the way I looked at things, the way I thought, the way just who I am. The second thing was that I knew I needed to fly airplanes. But I was also realistic enough to know that if I'm going to fly airplanes, I'm going to have to do it myself or figure out a way to pay for it, because it was very expensive and my family didn't have that money. So right off the bat, in 1975, I turned 12 years old, and I was able to have my own paper route. So I got my own paper route, and the very first money that I got in, I bought a magazine called Flying Magazine. It was just it was my first ever magazine with my own subscription. It came to me at my house. It was super exciting. And I just started diving in. I knew all these different airplanes, and I used to make airplane models and Air Force models, and that flying was my thing, is what I'm getting at. Well, come along to middle school, I was a trumpeter in a jazz band, in my middle school jazz band, and the bass player was right behind me, and he playing the upright bass. And we got to talking after, in between, sets, before or after practice, and he had said that his brother went to the Naval Academy. And I asked him, I said, what's a Naval Academy? He says, like the people that are going into the Navy, and they're going to be officers in the Navy, and then, maybe drive boats around and stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, does the Air Force have one of those? Because you remember, this is before the internet, before cell phones. Basically we had just junk on TV. Like, we didn't know anything about anything. So he says, yeah, there's an Air Force Academy. And I said, well, how do I find out about it? He says, well, just go to the school counselor. They should have a catalog. So I go to the school counselor. There's no catalog there. And so I told the counselor, it's like, how do I find out about this Air Force Academy? And long and short of it, I had to find a catalog. So every step of the way was work. Every step of the way, there was an obstacle or something that had to be accomplished. So that I had to wait like 3 weeks. They finally got a catalog from the Air Force, And I read through, they had multiple catalogs, and I got one of them. And I read through it cover to cover. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And basically from 7th grade forward, I knew I was going to go into the Air Force. I knew I was going to fly airplanes. I just didn't know how I was going to do it. So this is called going solo because nobody was helping me. It was all up to me if I was going to go and do this. Well, along the way, there's a lot of people who said to me, basically, good luck with that, because only 1 out of 20,000 people in the Air Force fly airplanes, or what, they was throwing these numbers at me like 1 out of 400 people in the Air Force fly airplanes, and only 1 out of 20,000 go to the Air Force Academy, and all this stuff. And the people who were saying those things, it wasn't that they were bad people. They were actually being very truthful. But it would have been very easy to get discouraged because those odds, those numbers are very, very, for a young kid, it's like, oh, I might as well not even try, right? But thankfully, that's not the way I was. So, long and short of it is that I ended up going to the Air Force. I remember the day I got my appointment to the Air Force Academy. I literally, I can't even describe the joy I had, because there was only 2 people out of 400, I think, in the state of Michigan that received appointments. This is back in 1980, but from the senator. So without going all through the process, I'm just sharing with you that the process was very, very, very difficult. And the whole thing is, the world sometimes, if you have a goal or a dream for yourself, the world sometimes will challenge you. Maybe there's resources that are blocking you. Maybe there's resources that are not going to be there for you. Now, stick with me because there's a punchline. There's a punchline here. I did get the appointment, okay? But my personal goal for myself, because this is early I hadn't graduated yet. I wanted to graduate top in my class. It turns out I did not need to graduate top in my class because I got the appointment. But it still remained a goal that I wanted to be top in my class. Well, to do that, I needed to get an A in physics. And the physics teacher was also the coach, the track, the baseball coach. It was different coaches for different things in the school. And for some reason, this guy didn't like me. And I took it really personally because I was the best physics student, like in the high school. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I was good at physics. I'm not proud to say this now, but I'm just going to tell you honestly, I even helped the physics teacher's son cheat on the tests. I mean, I literally helped his son cheat. So his son would pass his own tests. So, I mean, I'm not proud about that, but I'm just telling you that I did everything and anything I could do to get all A's, and this guy gave 0 A's. He gave me an A-. Now, that might sound like a big deal, like, oh, what the heck, it's still an A. But when you're going for the top of the top of the top and you end up getting an A-, and the valedictorian ends up being that person that gets the number 1 position, that's a really, really difficult thing to take. So I didn't know what to think of it. I was like, dang, what could I have done better? I took it really personally. But then, I went and I flew airplanes, and I went to the Air Force Academy, and it was kind of a distant thing in the past. So years go by, and I ended up getting married, having kids, getting a divorce, getting remarried, and literally, like 20 years later, it seems, I forget the numbers, but basically 20 years later, I was shopping in a place called Livonia Mall. For those of you in Southeast Michigan, you know Livonia, and Livonia Mall was the place to be. And I was just shopping with my my new spouse, and we went in to look for some blue jeans, and I looked at this kid, and I said, man, he looks familiar. Well, this was the coach's other son. He was the older brother. And I said, oh, you're Tommy. Hey, good to see you. And we got caught up. And it turned out that he was the travel coach, the assistant travel coach. So, and I was on the travel team. So we knew each other, and we got caught up and stuff. And he asked me about me, and I told him, yeah, I was an Air Force pilot, and I went to the Air Force Academy. And Tommy says to me, well, you know, I was supposed to go to the Air Force Academy. I said, you were? What do you mean? Why didn't you go? And he says, I didn't pass my medical. And right then it dawned upon me, all of those years that I took it personally, that this physics teacher didn't give me an A when I deserved it. I actually stayed home from a trip to Toronto while my entire family went there so I could do an extra credit project just to get that A, and I didn't get it. So there's a message here. I took that so personally, but there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. It was the cards were stacked against me. There was nothing I could do about it. And I ended up still going to the academy, still flying airplanes, still having a great career. But it dawned upon me that for all of those years, I was thinking there was something wrong with me, that this guy had an axe to grind with me. And what I'm sharing with you is that it really had nothing to do with me. He was angry. I represented something that his son should have had. His son should have been an Air Force officer. He should have flown airplanes. He should have gone to the academy. And he had this physics teacher had an axe to grind, and I was the target. So I share that with you because as you go out into the world, you have to give people space. Like, I'm not going to give this guy a bye for being a dirtbag to me. I mean, it's not okay. It was misplaced aggression towards me. But I'm just here to tell you that, you know, when you go solo, when you're in West Texas and you're in a 2-engine supersonic airplane and you're out there flying solo, it's okay. It's okay. Those things pass by and you don't think about what did or did not happen in high school. It really doesn't matter. You stay in the moment and you enjoy what's going on. So a few hours ago, I was thinking, man, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about when I'm going solo? I'm here to tell you that it's okay to go solo. It's okay. In fact, there's a lot of really cool marriages and really any relationship that I've run into. And what happens is the couple, they're happily married. And it doesn't matter if it's, you know, husband, wife, guy, girl. It doesn't even matter if they're married. They can just be a partnership. But the best couples I've run into in my years are the ones that are together because they want to be together. They're okay being alone. They're fine being alone. In some cases, even in my marriage, you just need some quiet time. You need to learn to be alone and have that special spot with your own thoughts, your own feelings. So I guess what I'm saying is that sometimes it's okay to go solo. I'm going to further go on and say, if you really, really, really want to learn about yourself, you must go solo. You must. When I first soloed in the T-38, which is, take a look at it. I might even put a picture of it on, you know what? I'm just going to put a picture of it up on this podcast. I didn't know what I was going to talk about, but so I'm going to put a picture of the T-38. When you're going solo in an Air Force airplane for the first time, it's scary. I'm not going to lie. I mean, anything can happen. And we're taught really well, all the emergency procedures, all this operations limits, how the airplane performs, where are the treacherous places where the airplane performs. We're taught all of those things. And we know that inside and out. And you can wake us up in the sleep and say, what's the bullface item for, you know, fire in the cockpit, right? Or engine fire or whatever it is. You know those things, bulletproof, right? You know it, and you know that you know it. But even so, you don't really, really know it until you solo, till you go out there and you just do it yourself. So I'm not expecting that most of you are going to go fly airplanes, and I really hope you do, because I think everybody needs to fly. But I will say that, there's going to be times in your life where things don't go the way that you think they should. There's going to be times where people jack you over and it's not even your fault. And you're going to take it personally. There's going to be times where you have to go solo and you have to carry the ball by yourself. And there's going to be times where you have relationships that, you just got to give the other person some space and permit them to go solo. Give them the time and space. I learned in college, I went to the Air Force Academy, and when I was in college, I used to go to a thing called the Officers Christian Fellowship, and some really cool people I hung out with there, and even to this day, I think they're some of the most wonderful people. I wasn't too much into the scripture stuff. I thought it was interesting, but I was very interested in the friendships, and we talked a lot of times about relationships. I think that one of the best things I got from that experience was these discussions about these relationships, because I was not yet engaged. I was not yet married. I was just kind of dating seriously. And but what I learned is that there's this dance. It's called a relationship dance, and I think all of us have experienced it, where what happens is you let's just say you have a desire to be close to this person, but this person has not yet warmed up to you. Or it could go the other way around. Maybe this person has a desire to be close to you, and you're just not in a place or a space where you want them to be close to you. And you've probably been on both sides of this. And there's this think about concentric circles surrounding you. Think about who you would have in your innermost circle, right? That would be like probably your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend, the people in your closest circle. Well, they can actually touch you and be intimate with you. But then the next circle out would be the close friends where you don't mind, slapping each other on the back and, grabbing each other's shoulders or, giving each other noogies or whatever. For the Gen Xers, look up noogie, you'll figure it out what it is. But basically, when you feel comfortable touching or, slapping or punching in a playful way, other people. But then there's concentric circles going outward. So if you just met somebody for the first time at, say, the Rotary Club or the school function, you're not going to go up and hug them and punch them. And, that's just, so there's this degree of feeling comfortable letting people closer and closer and closer to you. The thing is, what we all have to do is be aware of when is it appropriate to let those people come in. And as you develop those friendships, you also have to be aware how close, what are the terms, what are the conditions, what are the boundaries. But then even when they're in those circles, you have to have this awareness that sometimes they need to be alone and sometimes you need to be alone. So even with the closest of the closest friendships, sometimes people need to be alone. So that's kind of where I'm getting at with this. Number one is let's be flexible. Let's understand that life's going to give you some things. People in my circle, they know I call it a shit sandwich, right? So, two things. When life offers you a shit sandwich, you don't have to eat it, all right? You don't have to eat it. So let it go. Let it pass you by. If you do decide you're going to eat this shit sandwich, just make it full of condiments. Get your favorite condiments. But ultimately, what you want to do is just, when it comes to relationships, give people that space, give them the honor, and give them the chance to be alone. Probably above all else, with relationships, I want to just share one more thing on this, and then I'll move on to something else. These relationships, out of all the relationships you have, I really want you to get really up close and personal with the relationship you have with yourself. Okay, I cannot overemphasize the need to spend some quiet time with yourself. Go solo with yourself. Even if you love all of the other people in your life and you want to have them in your inner circle, I think I think it's necessary that you go solo sometimes. Hang out by yourself, sit on a park bench, go in your backyard, sit in a hot tub by yourself. Get yourself a hobby. I even go and play my bass guitar, just go play stuff. Doesn't even have to be with another band. Just go hit some strings, just be quiet, be thoughtful, be reflective. I think that if you each do that, I would love to hear your feedback. If you're not that person that can do that and you've never done that, just being peaceful and quiet, even sitting in a dark room and doing nothing, I would love to get your feedback if you're able and willing to do that. So, okay, I just word vomited a whole bunch of stuff on you. I hope this is beneficial to some people. So, I want to talk about a couple things going on in the world around us, and then it'll dovetail a little bit with what I just shared, but I also want to let people know that things are not always as they should be, and they're certainly not as they always appear. And I'm only going to say that because everything's a relationship. We have relationships with ourselves, with our best friends, with our close friends. Truthfully, I mean, we even have relationships with people who hate us, right? People who despise us. We still have a relationship with them. So it's really important that we get to a point in our lives where we understand that everything's a relationship. I will say this, you even have relationships with your past self and your future self. So these relationships, you have to kind of get your head around, what do they mean? What does my relationship with my future self mean, right? Is the future Tia Jolie pulling me to her? What is she trying to tell me? What is my relationship with my future self, right? Those are important things. I wanted to let you know that there's a lot of squirrely things going on in the world around us, and some of them can be outright scary. I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, Tia Jolie, what do you think about this thing that's happening? And my answer is almost always the same. It's like, well, what do you think is happening around you? What is it that you're perceiving? And they'll say, well, the TV said this, and the news said this, and the people say this, and the internet says this. And my answer is always, well, what do you think is going on? What do you perceive? Right? So what I wanted to share with you, I'm going to probably wrap this up here, is, I would encourage you to adopt or start studying philosophy, start thinking about all of the different other ways that people think of things, and then pick and choose which ones of those things apply to you, which ones of those things make sense to you. And even if don't put a judgment on it, there's no right or wrong answer, but just think. Like I personally, I resonate a lot with stories I hear of the Emperor Marcus Aurelius. If you've not studied Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius, his life, it resonates with me. Interestingly, one of the reasons it resonates with me is because his philosophy was to do the right things for the right reason, just because they're the right things to do. But that left him in a very, very lonely place. He was the richest, most powerful person in the world at the time. The Roman Empire, the whole Roman Empire knelt down to him. But if you're at the top of that apex of the world, who do you go to? It was a very lonely place. And I think for that reason, that resonates with me, because even in his loneliness, he still did the right things for the right reasons. I want to share one more story. I asked Sarah to consider listening to the Gospel of Mary and just kind of reviewing the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And I hope y'all will do that too. But in her scenario, that was also a very lonely place. When you really look at the Gospel of Mary, at least the pieces, the scraps and shards of the Gospel of Mary that we can gather, because many parts of it were destroyed. But I think there's 6 chapters or so, 5 or 6 chapters that we get enough so we can get the flavor of it. But what a very lonely place to be. She was given truths about our existence, about our reality, about the world around us that the other apostles were not given privy to. So when the other apostles asked her about, well, what did Jesus share with you? What was this story? What's all this secret information? And she shared it with them. They denied her. They actually ostracized her and marginalized her. So here's another scenario where she actually had to go alone, like proceed alone. Even when your closest best friends, people you call brother, right? She literally called those people brother, really pretty much discarded her and cast her off as a, well, no, there's no way that would be the case. You must be mistaken, That's a very lonely place to be. So just understand, sometimes the people closest to you, even though you have the right information directly from the source, it's bulletproof. Even though you have that information and you know you're right and you're saying the right things and you're doing it for the right reasons, you can still be pretty darn lonely. So, I'm going to say one more thing. I didn't know where I was going to go with this. I know it's kind of a diatribe at this point, but I want to share one thing. I did not retire from the military. I stayed in a little over 12 years. I want to tell you one more thing, and this is about leadership, and it's about telling the truth. One of the things I loved the most about the Air Force Academy was that it had what was called the Honor Code. And the Honor Code was really simple. It said, I won't lie, cheat, or steal, nor will I tolerate somebody who does, right? So in other words, I'm going to just live an honorable life, and I'm not going to let people around me do lie, cheat, or steal. Well, when I was a senior in senior at the Air Force Academy, I was in an elective course. It was a management class, and it was finals. I think this was the end of my 7th semester, so it would have been wintertime in Colorado, and I was taking an exam, and it was about finance. I like finance. I was blitzing through it pretty easily. It was the time value of money, figuring out different, how much an annuity would be and all this stuff. It was a really fun class. I really enjoyed it. But, you just during a test, you break, you stretch, you look at the clock, you just roll your shoulders back and you just stretch, right? Well, I looked across the room and there was another cadet that was literally cheating, like looking obviously very overtly, non-discriminately at the paper next to him. And I was like, oh my goodness, I looked down at my paper. I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't just see that, did I? It was excruciating because now I'm like, I'm in a tough spot because I saw somebody cheating. My honor code says I'm not allowed to tolerate that. That means I must take action. It's not optional. They don't give you a choice. Because if I saw him cheating and later on somebody finds out that I saw him cheating and I didn't say anything, I'm the one that can get kicked out. So on the way out the door after the test, I pulled this guy aside and I said, hey, I just need some explanation for what I think I saw, but I just wanted to share with you. It looked like, to me, it seemed like I saw you cheating on this exam, and you were looking at this other guy's paper, and maybe I saw the wrong thing. Maybe there's an explanation. I gave this guy all of the outs, right? I gave him, just tell me something, tell me anything that will permit me for this cup to pass, right? Just tell me some reason that I can let you off the hook, right? And there was no explanation. In fact, he got up in my face in a very belligerent way and said, I don't know what I'm talking about. And basically, F off, okay? So this was a problem because now I'm in a position where it's like I tried to do the right thing. So in the squadron, I go back to the cadet squadron, and there's this individual that's called the squadron cadet honor code. I think it's called the honor officer or something. Forgive me, it's been like 40 years. So, but there's this honor representative that's the person that is the specialist for the honor code and how we interpret it and how to do the right things and everything. And the honor person said to me, well, we need to file a report. So I'm like, oh man, it's like the last thing you want to do during finals is do some stupid report. I hate reports anyway. So I fill out this report. Almost immediately, I was pulled into the commanding officer. I was interviewed to explain the report, what I saw. Almost immediately after that, I was shuffled off to the group commander's office, talked to the group commander about what I saw, talked to the group. They interviewed me. They got a hold of the manager department. They talked to the honor. This thing blew up in about a matter of like 3 or 4 hours. It totally blew up. Well, I was upset because I really liked this guy. I just liked the guy. He was a good guy. I had him in some other classes. And long and short of it is I was pulled by a full bird colonel. A full bird means that he's the 6th level of officer in the Air Force. And I'm not even a 1st level of officer, so I was scared out of my boots. But I was invited to this private room. This full bird colonel explained to me that I did the right thing. And I mean, I'm not going to lie to y'all. I was crying. I was really, really, really upset. And this colonel said, you did the right thing. He said, we pulled the papers from him and the person next to him. And the papers were identical in every way, including the calculations in the margin next to it. Like every single thing, it was perfect match. They talked to him. Long and short, he got dismissed from the Air Force with 1 semester to go. It took me a long time to get over that, but repeatedly people told me I did the right thing. It doesn't always feel like it's the right thing because you're feeling like you're betraying somebody, but the fact is they betrayed themselves. And so this is a very difficult thing. I'm sharing this with you because it's tough to do leadership. It's tough to do the right thing. It's tough to do what's right just because it's the right thing to do. And I'll wrap up this solo thing with one more thing. I intended to stay in the Air Force. I flew honorably. I supported the 89th Air Force. We flew the President's limousine, Secret Service people. I've been to 50 countries. I had my bags, plus I had a bag for Arctic, a bag for desert. Pretty much I was one of 3 crews, could fly worldwide. We didn't have the internet, so we just turn on the news and see what's happening in the world, and that's probably where we're going. So now, I loved my career. I wanted my career. I wanted to stay with my career. But you can't stay in the flight deck, so sometimes you have to take a not flying job. You have to take what they call a desk job. So I took a desk job up in Detroit because that's where my family was, and it was a promotions job. I won't go into the details, but there was about 2/3 through that tour, I had a colonel of a 5th level, a lieutenant colonel, basically a 5th level officer, and I was a captain at the time, come into my office. I was in charge of advertising and promotions. I had a budget. It wasn't a huge budget, maybe a $1 million. I don't even think it was $1 million. It was this a long time ago, but basically I had a budget for promotions for the squadron, and I was in charge of that budget. And the commander came in and asked me to modify some squadron notes from a squadron meeting, a staff meeting that we had 90 days prior. So in other words, Captain, I'm the colonel. I want you to go back 90 days. I want you to change the information, change the numbers on this report to reflect this. So he wanted me to change official numbers on an official document. And I told him, I said, sir, no disrespect, but that's not the way it happened. That's not accurate information. He says, I know, but this is what we need to make the numbers look right. And I said, but you're not hearing what I'm saying. This is not accurate. We're putting forth false information on an official document. Well, he basically ordered me to change it and to sign the revised documents, and I didn't do it. I said, sir, if you want to change these documents, you change them and you sign them. I'm not signing something that's wrong. Now, some of you might say that I'm an idiot for doing that, because, that's your commanding officer and things like that. Well, I'll also tell you that we know, based on our training as cadets, that there are things that are honorable and there are things that are dishonorable. And in the military, as a pilot, we always had this thing: how is this going to sound if I'm called on the carpet to explain myself? If I get called out for doing this, am I on the right side of this deal, of what we're putting out there? Well, fast forward, that commander was relieved of duty, not because of anything I did, but because there was some investigation into the squadron, and he was relieved. There were also 2 other captains in the squadron that were relieved because they didn't stand up and do the right thing. They were relieved. So going solo, I did the right thing, and the next commander that came in made my life hell, and basically made sure that I was not going to be promoted to major, even though I was up for major. So I share that with you because my Air Force career was literally tanked. It was destroyed because I went solo. I took the high road. I did the right thing. And as a result, I should have a retirement from the Air Force, and I don't. So why do I say these things? Again, sometimes you have to go solo. Sometimes you have to do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do, and let the cards fall as they will. Well, I'm here to tell you that I wouldn't change a thing. Looking back at all of those scenarios, I wouldn't change a thing. And I think at the end of the day, each of us came into this world solo. Maybe some of you came in with a twin or something, but essentially you did come in solo. You came in solo. You're going to leave solo. This is all about you. It's all about your journey. Sarah and I do this Soul Decodes for you to figure out what is your soul's journey, who are you, why are you here, how do you interpret the world around you, and how do you make it the best solo journey you can make it. Yes, there's other people around you, but they're on their solo journeys too, right? So the best thing we can do is help other people on their solo journeys, but all of us are leaving. We came alone and naked. We're leaving alone and naked. So the best thing we can do is decide, what are we going to do? How do we make it the best experience we can make it? And yes, there will be some times we have to make tough decisions solo, but let's try to make the relationships that we have when we're not solo the best possible relationships. And the relationship that you have when you are solo, which is the relationship you have with yourself, the one where you look in the mirror and say, hell yeah, you did the right thing for the right reason. Even if the whole world disagrees with what you did, you can stand, you can look at yourself in the eye and say, hell yeah, you did it. So when we look at the world around us, there's a bunch of stuff going on. I'm encouraging you to dive into philosophy, study some of these philosophers, study the scriptures that are not the canonized ones. Look at the ones that are the Apocrypha, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Gospel of Thomas. Study these other ones, these other scriptures. Find out what other people observed. Find out what they did, what they were thinking, what they were doing, because they were on a solo journey too. Each one of those was trying to find out their life purpose. How do I navigate this life that I've got, right? So I just want to say that whatever you think is the real world around you, as you look around and there's chaos, there's stupidity, there's some things go your way, some things don't go your way, whatever it is that's going on around you, ultimately, the so-called real world is not the one that's around you. The real world is not what's going on TV. It's not the thing. It's not what's going on at the pub or at the ball field or at the bowling alley. It's none of that. That's not the real world. The real world is you versus you, and it's a solo journey, and we're here to help you. So anyway, I wish Sarah was here to chime in on this. She sends her love. I want to let you all know that this was excruciatingly difficult for me to talk for whatever number of minutes I did. I won't know until I actually look at the tape or look at the recording. But thank you for listening to me if you're still hanging in there. I love you dearly. Even though you're on a solo journey, you're not alone. I want you to know, yes, you're solo, but no, you're not alone, okay? Love you dearly. Thanks for tuning in, Soul Decodes. I'm looking forward to talking to you next week, and I promise you I'm going to make sure that Sarah does most of the talking, okay? Be well.
Soul Decodes, a feature presentation, airs every Friday on the Earth Angel Media Network. This episode of Soul Decodes is sponsored and produced by Live Pure. Optimize your life by taking your health to the next level. Listen now to learn how Live Pure will make your world better.
Live Pure is an American-based distribution system of online portals that give discounted access to clean, potent, natural, and ethically sourced healthy solutions for fat loss, muscle gain, immaculate skin care, immune system support, whole body cleanse, physiological balance, and performance support for athletes of all ages. Live Pure handpicks the best products and nutrients from world-class companies, always adding to their quickly growing wellness lineup that now includes Korean skincare, medical-grade nutraceuticals listed as pharmaceutical alternatives in the physician's desk reference, and healthy coffee that rivals the world's best, but for only about $1 per cup. Soul Decodes listeners looking for vitality, youth, beauty, and better health can get 25% off retail by visiting livepure.com/Sarah Tirri and signing up for free as a preferred customer. If you are a content creator, influencer, or home-based entrepreneur looking for worldwide cash flows from the emerging gig economy, Live Pure's state-of-the-industry brand partner affiliate program can bring you up to 7 different payment vectors as bonuses. As a content creator aligned with Live Pure and Earth Angel Media, you will enjoy massive co-marketing benefits, including a cutting-edge website that is personally branded to you or to your business. Sign up as a brand partner at livepure.com/Sarah Tirri, or drop us a note at connect@earthangelproject.com to get more information.